All right, I'm here with the great Kevin McNamara from WPRO, Kevin Mac Sports. I could go on and on. I appreciate you coming on. You are the expert. I'm going to call you that. I know you
Wow.
won't say you're
I
the expert,
mean,
right?
the great, the expert. I mean, enough of that. Let's get to the good stuff. And first of all, good to have you. Good to see you. And what a great weekend we got coming up here in Rhode Island, huh? Great. And there's only one
Absolutely.
person to thank. And I know he won't take full credit, but he has to take 100% credit, and that's Mike Martin at Brown. It was his idea to play Friday night to host Bryant Friday night, knowing that PC-URI was on Saturday. So good job, Mike, and good job, Rhode Island college basketball.
Yes. No, I'm with you. I was speaking to Phil Martelli Jr., and he's same thing. The first thing he said is we got to
Oh, good.
credit Mike Martin for this, for planning that this Friday. Also, before we even go into these games, can you imagine, you think back last year, right? A year ago today, you'd think you have these four games, and I were to tell you that Ed Cooley and Jared Grasso would not be coaching right now.
Yeah,
What would you say?
no, I'd say, what are you talking about? Hopefully they're both healthy. That's number one. That would be a shock for sure. Hey, that's sports, Nate. I mean, if you told me, maybe some of the specific players weren't around, same thing. College basketball changes a lot, but those are two major changes. I think both schools headed in the right direction and rebounded from some pretty big losses. And hey, I wish both the other two guys really wish them well for sure.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, we'll kind of get right into it. First up, obviously, Friday night, we have Brown versus Bryant. You look at this Brown team specifically, a lot of hype going into the year, I think, which was well deserved. And you look at their games, you look at what they've done, and I don't think their record obviously shows how good they are and how good they can be. What have you seen from this Brown team? Again, a lot of close losses, even USC. I mean, they were a top 25 team at the time. They were there, couple of ridiculous calls, still not really explained. But just what have you seen with this Brown team losing some of these close games?
Yeah, I think Brown, if you look back at their schedule, it's oftentimes in a non-conference schedule for an Ivy League team or for Bryant for that matter. If you lose the one or two games that you really thought you should have, all of a sudden it can be a little bit of a nightmare after that. And for Brown, it was the Loyola game at home. You go up to Colgate to open the season. Colgate's a potential NCAA tournament team. Play them pretty well. Fine. Then you come home against Loyola. You really don't play well, and they catch you, force overtime, and you lose in overtime at home. And I think Mike Martin would be the first one to say he didn't react well to that. The players didn't react well to that. Then they get on a bus and go up to New Hampshire, can't make a 3-point shot and get knocked around there. And all of a sudden you're 0-3, and your next game is at Southern Cal. And that's really what unfolded for Brown. And then all of a sudden, they beat Rhode Island College, which is great and all, but they're really 0-5 out of the chute. And this is a team that they're better than 0-5. That said, they have to show it, and they have to start showing it. They go to the Bahamas and lose 2 out of 3. Again, all close games. It's a team, Nate, that it revolves around Keno Lilly Jr., an awful lot on his shoulders. The guard play is not been strong enough. They lost Dan Friday. He would be a senior, a huge loss. Academics, he's not enrolled anymore, so he's not at Brown. And then Kimo Ferrari got hurt, another senior guard. Don't know his status for the Bryant game. They need him. They need him back. So, I think the combination of those two things, they've had to play with some guys who aren't ready, and they're building and learning, and it's really hard to play college basketball without guards.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you look at last year, one of their, you think of what really kind of started their season was the success they had in these in-state matchups, right?
Yeah.
They went to Bryant, and I think they were up big pretty much in the first half. They were able to maintain that, and that was a solid victory. They go to URI, they went at the Ryan Center for the first time, I think, ever. Correct me if I'm wrong. So obviously this is an opportunity against a Brown team to kind of get where they want to be. Kind of switching to this Bryant team,
Yeah.
right? So much turmoil. There's no way to, say it in any other way. I think in terms of losing your head coach, right? A couple of weeks before the season, you have Phil Martelli Jr. and he comes in, a little bit of a rough start. They lose that game against BU, and then they go to FAU and win that. What have you seen from this Bryant team that's been a little different? For me, defensively, it's been impressive. That has never really been their calling card. They've been able to hold opponents. I don't know what the number is, but they have been solid. An FAU team that after they beat Bryant, some people who aren't familiar with FAU may say, were they really a top 10 team? Well, they went on and strung, I think, 3 straight great victories since losing to Bryant. But what have you seen from the Bryant team that may be a little different from what they had last year? Again, they have talent.
Yeah, Nate, I have to keep putting these glasses on because I can't see my Ken palm. But the number one thing is they still want to play fast. Their adjusted tempo right now is 53 in the country. So they still want to get up and down. Offensively, they want to shoot threes like Grasso's teams wanted to shoot threes, but not quite as many, not as, not as quick trigger as maybe the previous Bryant teams. That said, hey, talk about a tough schedule. And Phil Martelli Jr. was the scheduler. So, he kind of has to blame himself here. But similar to a Brown situation, I think they thought they'd beat Manhattan on opening night. They didn't, and that hurt them a little bit because then you go to Rutgers, then you go to BU. Those are really hard games. You're not supposed to beat Rutgers. BU, I would say it's a 50-50 game, but it didn't happen. Then they go to FAU. That's the one that doesn't make sense. FAU is not a top 10 team. They're a top 25 team. I've watched them closely, caught a lot of abuse from their fans because I didn't rank them preseason in the top 10. I did rank them. You got to love it when you come off a Final Four, you got everybody back, you're moving up in strength in your non-conference schedule, number one, and you're moving into a tougher league. They're in the American this year. And I think I ranked them, 14th or something. A barrage of what the hell do you know? Who the hell are you? And what do you know? And I'm happy that I didn't. Some people rank them as high as 5th or 6th in the country. Come on, FAU, good for them. They caught lightning in a bottle last year. They're a good team. Anyways, that's enough about FAU. They lost to Bryant. Okay, Bryant took them down. Good for Bryant. And then they come home and they finally get a game that, in their gym that they should win, and they beat Howard. Then they go on the road and play Xavier. It's probably going to happen there. So their schedule from here on in is what it should be. Brown, Siena, Stony Brook, Towson, awesome. They do throw a trip into Cincinnati there, but that's the life of a low major. You got to go out and get some checks, and they got to check at FAU, they got to check at Rutgers, and they got to check at Xavier. So long story short, this is a winnable game. It's a state rivalry game, and I don't know if it's a rivalry for the players, but we'll find out. And I think the Brown crowd will be ready, and I'm looking forward to see. I have not seen Bryant live for the first time, so I'm looking forward to doing that.
Yeah, no, the one thing I will say, before we move on to kind of the marquee matchup, with URI and Providence, is with this Bryant team, I do feel like a year of having Timberlake, having Gross Bullock play together has helped. And I just think they have better pieces that fit. I think, you look at last year, even, Antoine Walker, they had obviously Charles Pride. It was almost too many guys. So I am looking forward to how Martelli is going to be able to kind of put his stamp on this team, but the potential is there. But moving to URI PC.
Sure. Okay. Well, let me keep moving my computer to URI PC, but I'm good. Go right ahead.
You graced the Ryan Center with your presence,
I did.
Which is not every game. That is, I saw Kevin McIntyre at the Ryan Center. I knew this was a big deal. That or they're preparing for Providence.
Well, no. As someone said, they said, "Oh, it's good to have you here, but you must be playing an Ivy team." I said, well, it's just convenient. I did not go to Yale. I could barely spell Yale, but I was happy to see Yale, who I wanted to see, and Rhode Island. So I'll tell Rhode Island fans why I don't show up to the Ryan Center very much. I do have a job. I come across people, oh, are you retired? I remember reading you at the Journal. I'm like, I wish I was retired. That's number one. I have the radio show every day from 5 to 7 o'clock on WPRO and 790 The Score. And it's tough for me to do it from the arena at the Ryan Center for some technical reasons. So midweek games are hard Weekend games are okay, but if the Friars are playing, I'm there. I'm not at the Ryan Center because I have to write up some game stories for the Friars. So that's my excuse. I'm sticking with it too.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. That's fine. But with that being said, you did see there haven't been many, but you saw one of the better victories in the very early young Archie Miller era. I put it up there with the Dayton victory they had last year. Obviously, Yale, a great team. They didn't start well, but obviously a very good comeback. What did you see from a talent perspective? Again, a totally new URI team flipped the whole roster from last season.
Totally new team, and that's really what I was looking forward to seeing. I knew that they would. I knew that they would play hard, and I think they were totally stunned by Yale's shot-making ability in the first half. Yale played excellent offensive basketball in the first half. They moved the ball really well. Every open three they had, they made. Again, just a really good offensive team. Their big guy, Danny Wolf, can play anywhere. I mean, he was outstanding. 6'10", 6'11" from Minnesota. He was recruited by much of the Big Ten and ended up going to Yale last year. Had some injury problems, played a lot, but had a great summer. And boy, he's as good as you're going to find in the Ivy League. And Rhode Island had no answers for him and the 3-point shooters around him. And I'm like, okay. And Archie Miller tried everybody. I saw all the names. I saw Always Right. I had to actually see what an Always Right looks like. So,
he has a brother, All Right.
ALL.
Yes.
Outstanding. Absolutely love it.
I
gotta get that guy on my radio show. I can ask him some questions. He would be good. But it wasn't good. They were down 18. The place was dead. There was nobody there. It was right after a Patriot game. I don't know why people would stay home and watch the Patriots, but certainly that's what happened. Students not back yet. It was a Sunday afternoon. They're on their way back to Kingston, etc. Anyways, at halftime, I know enough about Archie Miller that I'd love to be one of those little bugs in the corner of the locker room. Certain locker rooms around the country, when things don't go well in the first half. I'd like to do that at Storrs, Connecticut from time to time. And I would like to do it in Kingston on Sunday because I know Archie got all over his team because guess what? They just weren't playing hard enough. And, I like to say that playing hard is a skill. You can yell and scream and turn over, whatever you need to turn over in a locker room. The only way you learn to play well, to play hard is to do it in games and to do it as a unit and to do it with, the guys next to you. It's tough to do when you play 9 guys and you're getting everybody in and everyone has their chocolate bar and they're really excited about playing. That doesn't cut it. That doesn't against a team that's probably better than you. I mean, Yale's good. Yale's legit good. Whatever happened, Rhode Island came out in the second half and was a different team. He played a different rotation. They were much, much better defensively, really, really hit the offensive glass, which is going to be important in the Providence game, and totally took it to Yale in the second half, outscored them by 16 points, 44-28. So if that Rhode Island team plays and shows up on a consistent basis, they're going to be an issue. That said, if it's the team in the first half, they have a lot of growth ahead of them.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And I think that's been the issue with this team. Even Mohegan Sun, Northwestern, I think they got down something like 24-2.
Right.
And going into this Providence game, right, I think their interior, obviously Rhode Island did get, for Providence fans, they got, Bilal back, which is a big piece. He missed half of the year last year, transfer from Wichita State. He was their best big man last year and, again, only played a couple months. So he will help. But I look at the front line of Providence, right? Obviously Hopkins, Oduro, and you look at Rhode Island and what they have. I see those matchups. What do you feel like, obviously PC's favored as they should be. What do you see this game as? Seeing them, again, URI versus Yale, I know 2 different halves, but how do you see this game going? Is this a blowout? Is this a game that's going to be kind of manageable and URI's got to play the perfect game to be in it? What are your thoughts?
So, Nate, you've watched a lot of Rhode Island basketball. If you go back to the early Jim Barron years, And I'd have to go back and look at the boxes and come up with the names. But the early Jim Barron years, where they were just kind of a pain in the rear end. They weren't all that good. They struggled to score. They really hit the offensive glass. And in a couple of games against Providence, they just hung around. In one of them, I think it was Dustin Halenga. Hit like a 3-pointer as it was against Tim Welsh's team. And Tim Welsh tells the stories like Dustin Halenga's hitting 3-pointers and falling in my lap. Those type of games. They need someone to catch fire offensively and make shots where you're like, what is he doing? That's not what he does. And then compete inside, compete off the glass, follow up your missed shots. The kid Montgomery is outstanding at that. That's probably what he does best, is compete at a high level and offensive rebound. But I do think Archie Miller said after the Yale game that there's going to be lineup changes. He said it multiple times in his post game. I think that means we'll probably see an awful lot of Josephat. No question. I mean, he has to play. He's the most experienced and best big guy. I know he's still maybe not 100% injury wise, but he played 20. He only played 15 minutes against Yale. That has to change. He has to play 20 plus minutes. I think the JUCO Tyson Brown is definitely going to play more. And then they need really the three guys, the three, high end transfers, Courtwright, Montgomery, and help me out. Obviously Jaden House. They can't leave the floor, and they can't leave the floor. Those three guys, if they get foul trouble. So that's my number one concern is inside. My number two concern is Providence's speed. Providence has been playing a much more open transition-based offense. I think Rhode Island wants to sit down and guard in the half court, and that's going to be really, really interesting. And Providence's defense, by the way, and again, I got my little numbers here. Right now is number 22 in the country. So my concern for another concern for Rhode Island, I got a lot of concerns for Rhode Island. Number one, I just talked about with the tempo. Can they score? Can they get to 65 points? And number three is this is their first road game. And, Nate, you've been at the Dunk in the last couple of years. It's a problem. The AMP, sorry, Amica people. It's a problem. It's a real problem for teams that aren't used to it. And this Rhode Island team has an awful lot of young players who this will be the toughest environment they play in all season.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. I mean, even in those games, like I said, I think if they have a stretch like they did against Yale in the first half, like Northwestern in the first half, that's Mohegan Sun. You've been to Mohegan Sun in these MTE tournaments. I mean, the place is dead. Right.
There's no one there. I watched both of those games, and you're right. So Rhode Island was shook.
But even that, it's a true neutral site game. So even when they got back in that Northwestern game, they're not battling the crowd whatsoever.
No.
So I think that's the biggest thing. Obviously, if URI gets down early, because of the AMP, because of the talent on the PC side, I think it'd be hard for them to get back into the game like they have previously, like you said, because this is the first road game. My thing too is Jaden House has to have, one of those games, and he has the ability. So, I mean, I know in lesser competition, the first three games he put up numbers. A lot of people now, even URI fans will say, well, tougher competition, he struggled a bit. With that being said, I do think he still is a guy who could get you 10 quick points. Zeke Montgomery's been the most consistent. So their wings are there. I think it's the front court that really, Washington State ate them apart down low. And
Nate, I have a observation about Jaden House and Courtwright for that matter, and I need to see more, and we'll see an awful lot on Saturday. They might be too small. Both of them try to get an awful lot done in the lane. They're very aggressive players, and I love again how hard those three guys know how to play hard. They're experienced, winning college players. Jaden House, if he's not a 3-point shooter, he's going to have to make some. Of those three guys, they have to make some 3-point shots. You're not going to be able to take the ball to the lane, to the rim consistently against Aduro, against Bryce Hopkins. Devin Carter certainly is going to guard either Montgomery or House, good luck. I mean, Devin Carter's as good as any, man defender in the country. So scoring is going to be an issue for the Rams, and those three guys have to find a way to score. They're going to have to make some 3-point shots.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I mean, again, you look at the matchup, it doesn't bode well. I mean, it's obvious. Like, I mean, even I know it's a totally different team. You look at beyond just what Carter and Gaines, I think they're going to obviously wreak havoc like they do. I think they're one of the best duos you could say defensively, maybe in the country in terms of their length. You add Garway with that. I know he struggled offensively, but his length, those three guys, it's a nightmare. But again, and Oduro, I know it's a different URI team, but you even look last year, Oduro, I think he had 27 and 13 and then 25 and 12 against, Mason against URI. And just his experience down low with Hopkins, I don't think, they have an answer. And Bilal, who's the one guy I think who could hold his own. Now, Tyson Brown, he's good. He's hustle. He will get, he can get you maybe a double-double. I'm not, knocking him. He's a good player. But the level of Hopkins and Carter, I just think it's going to be really, really difficult. A lot of things got to go well.
Well, yeah, and again, I don't follow. This isn't the Bible and all, but Ken Pom does what he does, and I do think that there's a good chunk of games of stats from these both teams right now. Providence has played 7 games. Rhode Island's close to that. Yeah. And they have a predicted score up right now of 79-65, a 14-point game. I don't know what the spread's going to be, but it's going to be double figures. And I think it probably should be double figures. So, for Rhode Island to be within striking distance in the last 3 or 4 minutes, I think that would be good. I mean, that would be where they, I think that would be really good. For them to win the game would be a major upset. I mean, a major upset. So, we're totally agreeing. I think I'm looking forward to the game. I want Rhode Island to play well. I really want to see growth from Rhode Island as much as, I expect Providence to defend its home court. The fact that they've been through the ringer a little bit, they had Wisconsin in the dunk already, in the AMP already, with a big crowd, with a loud crowd, and played their best game of the season. If I'm Kim English, I'm feeling pretty confident that my team will be ready for URI. I will say, totally jammed out. I mean, the job that Providence has done selling tickets, they're sold. They're gone. Okay. It's all about secondary market for the big games, and this is one of the big games, ticket wise. That said, Nate, I just want to say publicly, I'm really not fond of the 7:30 tip time. As you know, this PC-URI game has been played during the day for quite a while. I'm an old man. I've seen a million of these games. I know why it's been played during the day, because at nighttime people get sloshed, and the Providence students are an issue, and that 7:30 tip time, it's going to be out of control. And if you're a Rhode Island fan, wear your air warmers, air covers, because it's not going to be it's not a welcoming environment. How's that?
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm with you. I know it's, I've been, like I said, last year was able to go to a bunch. I mean, it's an intense environment. I was surprised to see that time. Now, I'm with you in terms of with the crowd. I think for, nationally though, to have this televised at a 7:30 game time, start time, yep. It does add some excitement. But I'm with you. I mean, I think there's always this heated rivalry no matter what when you have PC play, and there will be a lot of pre-game activities that could lead to some not great behavior.
and again, I've done this game for 30 plus years. They used to do it at night, and the athletic departments agreed that's probably not the wisest thing. So it's been at noon, it's been at 4, it's been at 2:30. To go back now just for TV, and I get it. It's a huge college football day, and to get on FS1 in the afternoon is hard, difficult to do. That's why it's often on ESPNU and whatnot when it's down in Kingston. But as we know, Fox has the rights for all the Providence games, so that's the answer. That's why it's at 7:30. But watch out.
Yeah. Well, Listen, thank you. I don't know. Do you want to do a prediction or no? Yeah, I don't know if you're a prediction guy in terms of,
Not a
you
huge
know,
prediction guy, but how about I say that Rhode Island beats the spread? And because after all, I do my radio show at 790 a.m. is a sports betting channel. I just want to say this too.
yeah.
Everyone's, oh, I don't like sports betting. What do they talk about? What? Not my show. The rest of the station is national programs out of Las Vegas. They're excellent. I mean, they have everything down. If they're going to break down the NFL, they don't talk about the over-unders as much as they talk about injuries. They talk with college basketball. The same thing. Injuries, who's in, who's out. It's really good stuff. 790 a.m. Anyway, so I needless to say, I'm up to speed on the betting parlance. I'm going to guess that the spread is 11 or 12 points. I like Providence to win and URI to cover.
All right. I like it.
How about
like
yourself? I got to turn the table on you.
I see this as a, in the first half, and even the first part of the second half is going to be one of those games where URI, you think all they need is a run, but it's that kind of painful 9 to 11 point, back and forth. But I think Providence wins this by, I'm going to go with 16
Okay.
points.
Gotcha.
But again, I do think the fight is going to be there. My only fear is because I've watched URI against, Northwestern, who's a great team, Washington State.
Yeah.
I just think away, having some of the streaks, how some of the, 2-3 minute lapses, they just can't afford to have that. I think 10, 11 points at the amp turns into 20 very quickly.
Yes.
So they're really going to have to lock in and make the free throws. So we'll see. It's going to be a fun time. I am so excited that I wish I could be there, but I'm not, as you know.
Yeah. Now, I like to say that Nate does his videos from the other side of the world. We won't say where, but the other side of the world. Can you get FS1? Can you get ESPN?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay.
No, I thankfully I'm in a U.S. Commonwealth, so I do get the channel. So my college basketball nights are from 8 to 10. So in the morning. So I'm fully locked in.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, you have it's like a breakfast at Wimbledon instead. It's a breakfast at the Amp. What's better than that?
Nothing better,
Beautiful.
Nothing
Beautiful.
better. Let the brother, send the highlights. So he enjoys.
That's right. Great. Perfect.
All
right, Nate.
Well, thank you.
Okay, you got it. Take care. Bye-bye.